The goal for this lesson will be to understand the meaning of average rate of change. Average rate of change can be defined as the change in output divided by the change in input. This is sometimes referred to as the slope. Note that the slope or the average rate of change simply measures the steepness of a line on a graph. The greater the slope or the greater the average rate of change, the steeper the line. Now if you turn to activity 1.2 in your book, we can take a look at an example. The example begins with a table that shows this gentleman named Eric the progress of his diet over a 5-week plan. You can see the table lists weeks from weeks 0 through 5 and then the corresponding weight each week. The first problem asks us to find the average rate of change of Eric's weight over the first 3 weeks, and then they give us this hint from week 0 to week 3. So we know that the definition of average rate of change is the change in output over the change in input. In this case, weeks will be our input and the weight in pounds will be our output. So again, we're looking for the change in output divided by the change in input. So again, the example is asking us to find the average rate of change of his weight from weeks 0 to 3. So the change in pounds, or the change in output, would be this 184 minus the 190. And the change in weeks would be the 3 minus 0. Right? So we have the 184 minus the 190, that's our change in output. And the 3 minus 0, that's our change in input. When we simplify, we're left with negative 6 pounds on the top and 3 weeks on the bottom. And this can be further simplified to get negative 2 pounds per week. So we're now asked, well, what's the practical meaning of this relationship? Well, really, Eric lost on average 2 pounds per week during the first 3 weeks. The next question asks us to find the average rate of change of Eric's weight from week 2 to week 4. So again, we remember the formula for average rate of change is change in output over change in input. So our change in output from weeks 2 to 4 would be this 184.5 minus 181. And the change in input, which is our weeks, would be 4 minus the 2. We then clean this up a little bit, and you can see we're left with 1.75 pounds per week. So the practical meaning, Eric, well, notice how there's no negative sign here, right? The last problem we did had a negative 2, and the negative indicated that he lost weight. Since we have a positive 1.75, it looks like Eric actually gained weight. So we can say Eric gained an average of 1.75 pounds per week from week 2 to 4. You know, and the book does a nice job of giving us the definition again. The average rate of a change of a function over a given input interval is the change in output divided by the change in input.